Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much. And yes, well, welcome to the London Buddhist Centre. Welcome to you all in person here and in the other room. Welcome to you online to what's a really very special evening tonight. Probably the most kind of special evenings we have, if not, the most special evenings we have at the London Buddhist Centre, because we're going to be welcoming any moment now 4 new beings, 4 new ordinands, and they're just getting ready to really be here and sort of greet us. So actually what's going to happen is they're making their way as I speak through a pathway of light, through a pathway of well-wishers, of other practitioners, of other order members, ordained beings who, have really sort of appreciate and understand the journey they've made and the commitment they've made. So they're basically supporting them through here to this room with all this well-wishing, and then we'll get to meet them in person. So that's actually what's happening now out there. And there's also some screens as well. So we have a number of rooms where this is being watched this evening. So yes, a very warm welcome to you. My name is Suryagupta, in case you don't know me. I'm one of the teachers here, and I'm the chair of the London Buddhist Centre as well. And I think we can hear now lots of popping. So it's a pathway of light and lots of popping, celebratory sounds as they're coming in, and I imagine they're going to be they're going to come in decorated with streamers perhaps, which is going to be delightful. And here they are. Wow, we've been really excited actually. We felt the anticipation as we were waiting for you. And I thought some of you were decorated in streamers, and you are, which is lovely. So very warm welcome to you here this evening. And we've been, as I said, we've been anticipating your arrival. And it's the first time I think I'm seeing most of you since your ordination. So a warm welcome from me, very much. So yes, it's as I said, this is probably the most special evening we have at the centre, where we welcome back from ordination people that have sort of taken that step, and it's a very, very important step that you've taken. And this evening we're going to be got the chance to sort of hear about their journey and how they've emerged as well from what has been a very unique occasion in life and in their particular lives. So they have all made a commitment. They've all made a commitment to the 3 jewels, to the Buddha, to following the example of the Buddha, to the Dharma, the teachings, practicing the teachings, realising the teachings, and then to the Sangha, to the spiritual community, to living united with the spiritual community and being inspired by the ideal of community. They've made that commitment, and they're here on the other side of that and sort of ready to share their experience. And they've done that for their own benefit, to grow, to evolve, to alleviate their own suffering, and really importantly, they've done that for the benefit of the world, for others, for those immediately they're around, for those they encounter, and for humanity itself. So actually there's no other bigger commitment you could make, really, to really choose, intentionally decide that you are going to commit your life, and maybe even lifetimes, to continual growth, continually understanding teachings that lead you to freedom for your benefit and the benefit of others. There is no greater vision, really. So it's a very courageous act that you've taken, and it's a very noble act as well. So yes, as I said, we'll get to hear from them really. So I'm just sort of introducing us so that they are really well ready to come in and step into this space where they really are sort of announcing who you are now as these new beings. So really, yes, it's as I said, a very special evening, and for me, this ordination that they've gone through really is an initiation. It's an initiation into a new life. It's where they've really let go symbolically. They've let go of their old selves. They've let go of old identities. They've also let go of their old names. And all of that happens in this ceremony, in this ritual, in this sort of rites of passage. And they've done that in community with others also going through that steps. And they've been witnessed, and the ceremonies been conducted and witnessed by other people who have also taken that step. So for us here, it really is a moment where we can begin to, those of us who are ordained, reflect back on, our experience of that, reignite that sort of memory and that sort of moment where we also committed ourselves. And those of you who are not ordained or just sort of like, what is all this about as well, also get a sense of why. Why do people like myself, like our four new ordinands, why would you make that commitment? You get a sense of that as well from hearing their stories tonight. So leaving behind your old identity, leaving behind your old self is really saying that there's more. There's more to our limited ways of seeing ourselves. There's more to us than our conditioning, to what we've been told about who we are. There's more that's possible. It's a journey of discovering who we are in essence and who we are in potential. And their names, your four names, which I'm going to say in a moment, really all symbolises that. It symbolises their potential. It symbolises who they are in essence if they keep practicing, if they keep uncovering the truth and realising the truth in their lives. So it's a real shining example for all of us really of the possibility of discovering who we are in potential, discovering the possibility of who we are when we're free of suffering, when we're free of our limited views and expectations that we carry with us, many of us, most of us. So yes, it is the most important thing I think you can do, to decide that you're going to commit the rest of your life to this process for your benefit and for others. So in this evening, we're going to hear from our four ordinands, and I'm going to say your names in order of speaking. So it's Maitrekara. Is that right?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful.
I think so.
Aryavasin.
Vasin.
Oh, I thought that was an easy one. Aryavasin, thank you. Amalanandi and Suryanaga. Wonderful. So we're going to hear from all of them. And at the end of that, Suryanaga will lead us in a threefold puja, which gives you a taste of the Buddhist path, actually. It gives you a taste of this journey in verses, in 3 short verses that I've just sort of shared. What it means to go for refuge, to place your confidence in the example of the Buddha, what it means to place your confidence in the teachings and in realising the teachings, and what it means to do that in community, to live united with others and be inspired by the ideal of community. And I think we know from the world, don't we, that there's not many examples really of people living united, living in harmony and keeping on being inspired by that. So Suryanaga will lead us in this puja that will just give us a taste of that journey, of that path. And you'll be supported by your fellow ordinands in that puja as well. And then lastly, as is tradition here, we will, those of us here, we will end the evening afterwards, after the puja, after ending the evening ritually, we will have the ritual tea and cakes as well. It's almost to say it's an important ritual as well. We will do that too. And please feel free at home to also end the evening ritually for yourself with tea and cake as well. So that's what we have planned this evening. I'll just sort of help us along the way, and our ordinands will be sitting across from me here. And I'm going to call up our first speaker, and that is Maitrekara.
Gosh, thanks so much. Just my notes out here. Well, most of all, thanks for the welcome, and thanks for being here as welcomers. And was thinking without welcomers, it wouldn't be a welcome back evening. And appreciate all of you who've come this evening to support me, and wherever you are watching this. Thank you for doing that. I also want to just use this opportunity to say thank you to someone I don't know, and that person is the person who in late summer 2013, one Friday lunchtime, was on reception. And when my partner and I and my brother, who was over from Canada, and a friend had decided to come along to meditation, arrived a little bit late. And I often think, like that film Sliding Doors, where there are different outcomes to different scenarios. What might have happened had we been turned away? I wonder if I would have come back. I really wonder. I live a long way from here. I live in Kingston. It's quite a long way away. Would I have really come back? Because what I can't have known, what I discovered that day, is how much I really felt at home. I sat in the small shrine room, quite hot and sweaty, my heart pounding because we'd been running down Roman Road, and I just knew straight away I felt so at home here. And so thank you to the unknown person for letting me in, or letting us in, I should say. So when I first came along, I was quite familiar with the Buddha and the Dharma, but the word Sangha was new to me. And I didn't feel originally that I came to the LBC to make friends. I've been blessed with having friendship, good friends in my life. And I didn't really feel I had come along to make new friends, but I wanted to learn more about the Buddha and study the Dharma and practice and finally start a good meditation practice, which I've been trying for years and never been able to do. And it's interesting when I think about who I wanted to be here tonight. It's only Sangha friends. It's only Sangha friends I wanted to invite. So women from my GFR group, my Going for Refuge group, the women I was training for ordination, with women I studied with in a Mitra study group, friends from Lama's Pajamas, and of course in the room tonight the two wonderful women, Kalyana and Amalanandi, who are now my Kalyana Mitras. It was only Sangha friends I wanted to invite. And also I want to say somewhere in cyberspace, or I think more particularly Colchester, zooming in tonight is my private preceptor Chandra Prabha. And I'm delighted that she's joining me here tonight. But I want to say thank you to all of you. And when in part the inspiration of the sort of theme of this talk is thinking about my inspiration, my inspiration comes from all of you daring to work with your minds and daring to look at yourself and studying and practicing and aspiring to be the best you can be. I'm having living honest, ethical, meaningful lives. That's what means such a lot to me, and I'm touched to be practicing alongside you. And I feel from the most experienced teachers here, Maitrekara, who taught the Life with Full Attention course, which has been such an important part of me engaging here, and other senior teachers, older teachers, inspire me, and yet last Monday evening, Amalanandi and I led the first session of our new Mitra study group, and I was inspired by the women speaking last Monday so much, by their engagement with the Dharma. They're wanting to practice, they're wanting to be the best they can be, and I'm touched to practice beside you all. I've been to several of these events myself over the years, and sometimes I would be sitting where people here now are sitting and sort of imagining who I might be when if ever, I was giving a talk like this. I mean, nothing can have prepared any of us for how the last year has been. I mean, I'd imagine myself being in... Well, I pictured myself sort of sharing deep spiritual insights, actually, if I'm honest. I mean, it was all a lot of nonsense. Fantastic meditations, you know. It was just all dreaming, all none of it true. That's not what it was. Well, I do occasionally have good meditations. Of course, I hadn't imagined being welcomed back from a 2-week ordination retreat, which was online. For which I would be based at Adhisthana with just 2 other ordinands and 2 private preceptors in person, with all other participants zooming in. And from zooming in from various places in the UK, obviously due to the pandemic. And I just want to acknowledge that I will share a little bit of a disappointment, but I want everyone to know that in the scheme of things, I count myself extraordinarily lucky to have survived the pandemic, extraordinarily grateful for everything everybody has done through that dreadful time, and that there's been real suffering in the world, and that is, of course, I'm as aware of that as anyone. I'm also just, I wasn't planning to say this, but I just want to say that I think I'm very in touch right at this moment with my own just joy at being alive, because I was caught up on Saturday in a really unpleasant emergency evacuation of a tube station where I spent 5-6 minutes feeling absolutely terrified, not knowing what was going on, what the outcome was going to be. And it's that brush again has reminded me of the value of life and what it is to suffer, and that terror I felt. And Kenya, if you're watching, I've been thinking of you, and somebody here who was coming here that morning shared that experience with me. But what happened, so as I say, I hadn't imagined being welcomed back from the retreat in this way. I'd hoped to go on a long retreat to Adhisthana. It is not the end of my world that didn't happen, but I had hoped to go. And what happened from August when I was invited for ordination was a sort of slow and steady unravelling of the plans. So it was to have been 3 months in Spain. It was then to have been 6 weeks in Spain, then an in-person retreat in the UK, and then eventually an online retreat in the UK, but I didn't know where. And during this unravelling, I turned to my spiritual friends. As the disappointment of that took hold, it required me to let go an awful lot, opening to the reality of life in the pandemic, wondering what would happen, knowing the ordination team were really going to try very hard to get us ordained, but having no idea actually what was going to happen. And it was actually week after week after week of uncertainty, not able to make any plans of any sort. So as well as thanking my friends for the shoulders that I leaned on very heavily actually during that time, I want to pay tribute to my partner, Jane, who's looking at me right at this moment. Jane was so steady and very loving and supportive of me throughout that whole experience. And I remember one day sitting and crying because I just thought, I can't cope with the letting go. I can't cope with the letting go. And she just kind of let me get on with it, and just cried a bit more. And I just don't take that for granted. And so thank you for that. It's probably the most public display of my love and care for you that I've ever done in my life. She's great. And it's 26 years next week, apparently. That's another story. So I was lucky to be at Adhisthana, and for the second of the 2 weeks retreat, we could take off our masks and socially undistance. We could hug, and we moved in together, the 5 of us, the 3 ordinands, the 2 preceptors, Chandraprabha and Aryajaya. We moved in together into the upstairs at Adhisthana, and I felt like I was on retreat, and it was absolutely great. I started sleeping, I started feeling absolutely aligned with everything that was going on, and it was a really magical time. I really thrived. And also one of the opportunities that came up as a result of the way I did the retreat was spending more than 2 weeks with my private preceptor, and I very much valued the opportunity to have that time. Which brings me to just one other thing about the retreat. Well, I actually met in person the women on my retreat, so there were 10 of us in total, and we actually met in person at Taraloka Retreat Centre, where the public ordinations were going to take place. It was actually extraordinary because I'd been looking at these women on the screen. We'd been practicing together, we'd been meditating together, we'd been listening to talks, we'd been sharing stories. But when I actually met them, for real, it was like meeting women I knew. It was like meeting women I knew really well. And so the magic of Zoom, it worked. It really worked. And interestingly, Anyway, no, I won't do that aside because I'm going to run out of time. But it was just lovely to be with them just for the few hours that we could be together. Which brings me to my name. The public ordination was the time that my name was announced. I've given my name, as most of you will know, in the private ordination. So I spent the first couple of days saying it wrong, and then I rechecked with Chandraprabha, and we talked a bit more about the pronunciation. So Maitrekara. It means she who is a rich source of love and friendship, and it feels like an enormous name to have been given. And thank you to Chandraprabha for the gift actually that is my name, and I've been reflecting on it ever since. So recently, a couple of weekends ago in Yorkshire, I saw my one surviving aunt and a couple of my cousins, and it was the first time since November 2019 I'd seen any member of my own family. And I was 9 years old when we moved from the town of my birth, and I went to, but then there were subsequent moves. So my childhood was, this isn't a life story, but my childhood was a lot about moving and going to different schools. I went to numerous different schools. And I learned really on that friendship was going to be important to me and connection was going to be important to me. And I could do study, but actually friends and connections were really, really important. And I'm not sure, I didn't realise that was what was happening, but it was how I was behaving. And also all my life, my friends have been important. My friends are my treasures. And I'm fortunate to have many good friends, and I do keep in close communication with them. But my name comes with a challenge as well. As I said, my name means a rich source of love. I can be that person, But I'm also not that person all the time. It's probably because I'm not enlightened. I'm an imperfect human being. I do believe I can become enlightened in this lifetime. I think it's a very long way away from me, but I do believe it can happen. But I do struggle with a mind that sometimes is negative, and it certainly isn't always pure and seeing clearly, and a mind which sometimes can be taken over with negative thoughts, especially the times during the pandemic when I felt very frightened. I mean, not as often as I think before I started practicing Buddhism, but it can be. So my name comes with a challenge, and I feel like my life's work has been set. Is actually to continue to live into the bit of my name that I think I can do. Actually, to start to really work on that side of me that struggles with being a rich source of love for all beings. So I just want to finish by saying that my name reflects who I am now, to some degree, and what I can become, and I commit to serving the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha in whatever way I can, and work on my own mind from this day forwards. And lastly, that in my mid-60s, to have been ordained and to start this new journey feels absolutely amazing. It feels like the future feels boundless. I'm hungry to learn, to continue growing and developing and being the best I can be. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maitrekara. Very beautiful and very honest expression there. I love what you said about my life's work has been set with your name. I think, in a way, no matter what else goes on in your life, you know your path from here on. And I would just appreciate you sharing the process of all the disappointments and how you dealt with that in a way that you were practicing right there, weren't you? Putting the teachings into practice with what was going on with the pandemic. And we'll hear from the other speakers tonight about how the pandemic, I imagine, impacted. We had two of you who did your ordinations online, two in retreat, and we'll get a sense of the difference of that. But just really appreciate you sharing that, and also sharing your deep friendship and connection. I think you're really well named, and I look forward to that sort of expressing itself in different ways here in our Sangha. Thank you very much. And now we'll have Aryavasin.
Thank you. Well, for me this is important actually, because public speaking has been always a difficulty. So it's part of my journey actually. When I started 12 years ago, and this would have been dreadful. And I've been dreading this moment as well. Even some moments during the retreats, this has been a moment of like, oh, what's going to happen? I thought it's fine. But yeah, thank you for being here, and thank you for being part of this journey. It feels nice. It's really nice to be here. And yes, so I'll start by I say some more thanks, which are important. I did a fundraiser to go for my ordination, so I'm grateful to all the people which contributed. I couldn't have done it without it, so I'm really grateful for that. And then start with specifically some people. I'll start with Paramabandhu first, because you are welcoming me to the order as a public preceptor. What I felt that I'm it feels like there's a link with the Buddha. I mean, I came along to the Buddhist center thinking I was a Buddhist already when I came, and I was just looking for. Well, in reality, I was looking for enlightened people. That was my understanding. I had a very limited understanding, and then I saw the Sangha. But I was looking. Buddha was very important, and I learned throughout the practice that you need teachers to get in there. And that's what I felt with the ordination. I felt like I had something opened up, and I belong to I feel like a son of the Buddha. I mean, that's what I felt like. I felt finally I got what I've been looking for, and it feels very, very important. So, thank you for Rabandhu and for the retreat. I mean, the retreats have been amazing, both retreats. So I will say probably a bit more about the retreats. Rabandhu alongside with Artapriya, Dayanatha and Padmasagara, I think the retreat were amazing. So I'm really grateful for those, and it's something I will remember. And then Maitrekara, I think you've been very, very important. Maitrekara is my private preceptor, the person which kind of has been the closest to me in my in the process of being ordained. And somehow, you're the person where I feel I've become a man thanks to you, really. My difficulties is if I get hurt in the past, I would react and probably be aggressive. I could do that. And the other one, when I came along here, I stopped doing that, but I would do the other thing that I used to do. If I got hurt emotionally, I would withdraw. So I have done that as well within the Sangha, and some people have had unfortunately, have met that side of me. And you've been very helpful with telling me that, just making me, I became a better man by just owning up. A simple thing, you taught me a simple thing, that's saying, I feel hurt, you do this action, I feel hurt, can we talk about it? It's very easy. Never came across. I never thought of it myself, and it's still difficult to do. I've learned to do it a bit more and more. I still need to do that more. I'm Albanian, and I have a macho background. So macho men don't do that. But I've learned. That's the culture of the Buddhist center which I've encountered, is talking about emotions. And I could do that, and I could do that. But talking specifically about my emotions when I'm hurt is a different ball game. So I've been very grateful for that during the process, and then for the actual ordination. I will always remember the private moments. So during the ordination, you have a private moment with your private preceptor, and nobody else. You're not supposed to talk about it either, but that I will remember. How I felt and what happened there, it was amazing. It's probably the pinnacle of all these paths or something. I felt grateful. Probably I felt high that night. I felt really high. I felt very elated, and it was like that sense that I've made it as well. That was really, really amazing. I'm grateful for the whole process. All of it. And then Jayaka, so it's one of my Kalyana Mitratas, which is a spiritual friend, and he has been looking after me during these years. But it started with me becoming a Mitra. I also had a resistance to become a Mitra. I thought I was a Buddhist, but I wanted to be a Buddhist. But I came from a ex-communist country where you don't belong to things, you don't join things. There's fear of, I was scared of joining a cult. I was scared of giving my life away, kind of thing. So I was scared of joining, even though I wanted to be a Buddhist. But he could see that. He saw that, and I think with gentleness he stayed with me until I decided on the last moment. One night, I think 2010 Mitra ceremony was the day after. I took a leap of faith. I wanted it, but I was anxious. I'm glad that he said yes, because normally in the process you normally do it long before. And then throughout the process, you also been part of the study group, Mitra study, which has been very, very helpful, and sorted some of my views as well, and it's been great. And I've always seen as a man's man, so I'm more like a guide. I haven't had so you kind of learn by looking at you. I think you have that just by being around. I just look at you and not by telling me things directly, and I really appreciated that actually, just looking at how to be a man from. I've always done that all my life, looking up, and in you I've seen that quality. So I hope I've learned something from him. But I'm really grateful for that. And then Nandaraja, which is not here, but it's outside there. He's been more like so. I have been I've been bullied when I was young. I always wanted to learn martial art, but it didn't exist. I've seen Karate Kid, Mr. Miyagi, probably some of you have seen, and he became that to me. I mean, when I became Buddhist, one of the things I did, I started learning martial arts, and I found Aikido probably. I was in other martial arts, but I found Aikido when I met Nandaraja here. He was a Nandaraja then, and we became really close. And I've seen him kind of more often. He's like my other spiritual friend, Maitrekara. And I've seen him more often. He's kind of probably knows me better because I spend more time with him and doing martial arts. But it's been, and I'm grateful for all the confidence and the courage and the things I've learned from him. And mind training, I've done lots of mind training, lots of hidden views that I had to work with, and I've done lots of that with Nandaraja, and I'm really grateful for that. So this more and more the 4 specific people. I will let Atula out. I also want to, it's a chance to say, some of you probably do know or have heard of Atula. I've done 2 years therapy with Atula, which were, really, really, really helpful. I've always had anxiety. When I coming here, I discovered I had anxiety. I didn't know I had anxiety before. And the Dharma taught me I had anxiety. He kind of helped me. He had a Buddhist approach, and things kind of made me even feel more real. My practice more real as a person, a real Buddhist, rather than I was very idealistic. So it kind of put me a bit down more with what's real, and I found that really helpful. So I'm really grateful for Atula. These are the individual people. And then all the teachers, I've learned lots from the teachers around the Buddhist Center. I mean, in different ways, from very good talks, very inspiring talks, to meditation at the beginning. So, I feel in one way, I don't know if I've arrived, but definitely some big change for where I were 12 years ago. I mean, I'm a much happier person, a much more calmer, more kinder, hopefully as well. I've changed quite a lot through the process, and I'm grateful to the LBC specifically, but the whole Triratna way of approaching the Dharma. So I'm really grateful for that. And then, maybe say a bit about my name. So my name is Aryavasin, which means he who dwells with the noble ones. I also found it a bit difficult at the beginning. Vasin is something I love Buddhist names, and I try and learn them when I hear them, but Vasin I've never heard. So it was a bit, and I heard of Aryavachin, so in my mind as well, that's the name that they came as well, because Vasin was new. But I loved it from the first moment. I didn't understand the Vasin part, but I really loved it. And what I felt seen. Not that I was noble, but I've always valued nobility externally. I didn't know, but I can know now. Now that somebody told me, you know what, nobility is important for you, it feels like, oh yeah, how did you know? I mean, that's what I thought. Because all my life, that's what I valued. I've always looked for, that's what I valued, but I didn't know this. I mean, my parents couldn't tell me this, I didn't know this. And then I thought like, wow, this is amazing. It's like, this is, powerful in one way to really see. I felt seen, I think I felt really seen. And I think I'm grateful for that. I mean, that's why I felt very elated during the retreat, because being seen was very, very deep. And I'm not noble all the time myself. I mean, I'm one who dwells with noble people, so I like to dwell with noble people. I like to see that. But I feel it's also a teaching as well, because I find myself now saying, okay, if I try and think something or do something, I say, is that noble? So it is helpful in that regard. There is a teaching there as well, I can see. So I have to, and I'm grateful for that, so I can stop and think and do the noble thing, which probably sometimes is not so easy to do, but that's something that I would like to do. I feel this is the right thing and something I want to do. And then maybe say about the retreats. So I did, initially it was supposed to be 4 months, and then 3 months in person, and then initially, I thought maybe I knew it would be a marathon. I knew it would be hard in my mind. I was happy to do it. I was going to do a marathon, but I knew it would be difficult. But then when it was shorter, it felt like it was better. But in the end, I think having gone through the experience, I wanted to stay longer. So I did 2 weeks solitary before the actual retreat. So we did 2 weeks solitary and then 2 weeks in Vajrasana, private ordination. Then we flew to Spain and I did 5 weeks in Gukaloka. So at the end in Gukaloka, I felt like I could have stayed longer. I saw the meaning, the value of it, just staying there. I got into a pattern of doing things, and I really enjoyed it actually. I enjoyed Vajrasana more. I've always, it's my local, I've been to Vajrasana most of my time around here, and I kind of know it well. Maybe it's been the second retreat center I've been to, and I volunteered quite a lot, so it felt special being ordained there, and then it's also the first ordination that happened there, so it felt great. And being in the shrine room, it was amazing. So I think there I was very happy. I mean, that was the happiest retreat I've ever been to, and maybe because it was a special retreat, and I could see that everything else kind of led to that. I felt gratitude. I started feeling gratitude there. It was like, wow, this is great. And then Gukaloka was great as well. I loved everything there as well. The hot weather helped as well. I enjoyed reading in the sun. I enjoyed the program. We got during the private ordination, we get given a practice of visualizing of a bodhisattva figure, and during Vajrasana I really got into my meditation. In Gukaloka a bit less, but I'm not the type that I can't visualize easily, so it comes with difficulty. So it was more. It's something I have to build up, but during the Vajrasana it was amazing. Everything was great. I'm really grateful for that. Probably there's something else on that. I don't know how I'm doing with time. I'm not keeping time. Hopefully I'm okay. Probably one last thing. Lineage. I think that's one thing that was important during the ordination. It felt like I got lineage. I'm in the right place for me. When I first came, I was looking for enlightened people, and then now I find I've got lineage. It feels like I have, through a lineage of teachers, going back to, hopefully, to the Buddha himself, and that feels very, very precious. And that's what I felt. That's what I felt during the ordination. I've got 2 more practices. I have lots of practices I can do. I just need to get on and do those and make progress gradually. I think that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aryavasin, and what a wonderful name you've been given. I really saw, he who dwells with the noble ones, and I really loved, actually, you were seeing very early on, actually, in your involvement, nobility in others, and actually were dwelling with them, sort of associating, and I really loved the way you described your friendships and the different ways that your friends helped you grow. And it really shows that we can't grow it in isolation. We need other people to grow. We need other people who are further often on the path than us. And I love the kind of combination, like somebody who is your inspiration with martial arts and someone who would just help you point out your views and habits and give you those really the tips of like how to communicate. I think you were saying that about Maitrekara. It's like, why don't you try this? And it hadn't occurred to you. Sometimes the simplest things don't occur to us because we're habituated in a different direction. And then you had your study friend, you know, the noble person, Jayaka, who helped you study, Attila, who helped you with anxiety. I mean, all these different people who were there alongside you, helping you grow and helping you contact the nobility in yourself. And I just thought that was very beautiful, the way you expressed gratitude. Person who publicly ordained you as well, Pramabandhu. Just lots of people who were part of your journey, helping you become who you are now. Really wonderful. One thing you didn't say was that you are the first ordained person from Albania. And it's actually not easy to be the first. It takes a whole different kind of courage, really, to be able to translate. You had to translate aspects of the Dharma in your birth language, and then figure out the cultural differences, and there's all these different things that also is involved in being the first, right? So I want to honour that here as well, and say we're delighted to have our first ordained person in Albania, and may there be many more. So thank you very much, Ariel. We're actually going to have now a 10-minute break. So you've got 10 minutes to have a comfort break, and we'll be right back for our next two ordinands. Yeah.
Test, test.
So I love names. I love to
Test, 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 test.
So welcome back from our break, and we're delighted to introduce to you our next speaker, Amalanandi.
So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who's come today. Really appreciate it, and so lovely to have so many people here to celebrate all of us, so thank you. So I thought I'd tell you a little bit about the last part of my journey to ordination, and then a bit about the ordination retreat itself. So I was part of last year's cohort who were due to go to Akashavana for 3 months in Spain. And Akashavana is our women's ordination retreat centre, and I was basically packing my bags and ready to go when the pandemic hit, and everything changed, and we knew that we weren't going to be able to get there. And obviously that was really devastating for us all at the time, as well as obviously the pandemic and all that was happening with that. So, but I do remember saying, through the tears and through the sadness and the grief at the time, that I thought it was really important that I wasn't getting what I wanted. And there was a real resistance. I didn't want it to be how it was, but I knew that there'd be some important learning that would come out of it. I just didn't know what it was at the time. And it has definitely been a year of learning since then. So Vidyamala, who was one of the preceptors on my ordination retreat, she gave a talk, and she shared one of her mottos that's kind of arisen for her this year around the last year. She said, "Take life seriously, hold it lightly." And it feels like that's what I've just had to keep doing again and again, to keep taking life seriously, yet holding it really lightly over the last year. So it wasn't just letting go of the retreat last year, but I had to keep letting go again and again of all of the changes to the plans for this year's retreat. And that was really, really hard to do. So I had to keep letting go of what I wanted it to be, what I didn't want it to be, what I thought it should be, what I thought it shouldn't be. I had to let go of when it was going to be, who I was going to go with, how long it was going to be for, where it was going to be, and eventually even how we'd be able to retreat together. So around Christmas time, it became apparent that we weren't going to even be able to go to Spain this year. So that was a devastation for the second time. The next plan was to go to Taraloka Retreat Centre in the UK, in Wales. But as we got closer and closer to that, we realised that even that wasn't going to be possible. And so the final plan was to do a 2.5-week online ordination retreat. And if you'd have said that to me last year, that that's how I was going to get ordained, I would have said, absolutely no way, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. That's not how I'm getting ordained. But there was something about having to keep surrendering and having to keep letting go again and again that made that possible somehow. So the other thing that I learned that was really helpful was I had to keep untangling ordination itself from the retreat, from the form of the retreat. And that was actually really helpful. So it felt like in the end, all that was left somehow was just the ordination. And that helped me to keep turning towards ordination. What am I doing? Why am I doing it? And keep connecting to my inspiration. Keep letting go of any attachment to any type of retreat experience, having a certain type of retreat around that. it also felt like I had to keep taking more and more responsibility for the conditions that I created around the ordination itself. So as the retreat kind of went from being 3 months and it gradually was getting shorter and shorter, I had to think about, what would I do to create the right conditions around it when it wasn't kind of in the perfect conditions of this 3-month retreat. So what I was always adamant about was that I would continue to do a 3-month retreat, but I just have to plan it myself and do it in my own way. So that's what I did. So I'll tell you a little bit about what I did during that 3 months, and then I'll share about the ordination experience itself. So so after the ordination retreat, I went down to Cornwall and I did a solitary there for a month, and then I continued to be on retreat in Wales for another 3 weeks. And that last part of my retreating felt like my welcome into the order a bit more fully, because I was able to, at that point, to get to Taraloka for their opening weekend. It was a women's order weekend. And that was just so special to actually be physically welcomed into the order. No one had been on retreat with anybody for a while, so that was just special for everybody involved. And Maitrekara was there as well. And we hadn't been on the same online ordination retreat, but it was just so lovely to connect and be there together. That was really special. And then I continued on solitary for another 2.5 weeks in Wales, and during that time I took part in a 10-day order retreat through Vajraloka, which had some really, really inspiring teaching. And it just felt like this kind of perfect 3 months of practice, really, really rich and meaningful. And I'm so, so glad that I held to that and I took that 3 months. And the only thing I'll say about that then is about being on retreat for 3 months was there was something about meditation and reflecting on the Dharma and practice being the main event of the day, the main focus of the day, every single day for 3 months. And that had a real effect. It had a really, really strong effect. It wasn't just something that was added on to the rest of my routine of what I could kind of fit in. And I can't quite verbalise the effect that had, but it was something about just having all of my energies gathered and pointing towards one thing continuously for that amount of time. Just felt very significant as a different way of living, actually. So I won't forget that. Okay, so my ordination retreat itself. So where was I? So it was an online ordination retreat, but where did I do that? So over the last year, Jyotish Mati and I had many phone calls, every week in fact. She was very, very supportive. And I remember one phone conversation where she was telling about a dream she'd had. She's sitting right here for anyone who can't see. And she'd had a dream that she was going to privately ordain me at her house. And we laughed about it at the time. I had a good chuckle and thought, that's ridiculous, that's never going to happen. But it did. So that's where I got ordained, was at Jyotish Mati's house. And Jyotish Mati's my private preceptor. And so what I did was I went to her house for a month and retreated there. And she has a beautiful home in the Hertfordshire countryside, really beautiful conditions for a retreat. So I felt very grateful that I had that opportunity. It was from there that we logged in and did the 2.5 week online ordination retreat, which was led by Subhadra Mati and team from Taraloka Retreat Centre. So what was it like doing an online ordination retreat? Well, I'd been on retreat already for 2 weeks at Jyotish Mati's house, and that was just lovely. It was a real chance for grounding and relaxing, and just felt very content and kind of ready. And then we logged on to that first Zoom session, and I just felt so much resistance. I just felt like crying, and I just thought, am I actually doing this? Am I actually doing an online ordination retreat? And it just felt really difficult, actually. It felt really hard for that first day. And then, that evening, I was kind of thinking about it, and I thought, what would it be like to just not resist? What would it be like to just not resist? And I thought the only thing that's going to ruin this retreat is my resistance. So I just decided to let go again, and I just threw myself into it, and it was absolutely wonderful. It was really, really perfect. And And one of the reasons it was so wonderful is because of the amazing team. So Subhadramati, Dana Utah, Hridaya Gita and Vajratara were just amazing. They were just held it so well, so beautifully. Such devotion to the cause, such enthusiasm for what we were doing. It was just remarkable, actually. But the most special thing, actually, was that I got to have a one-to-one private retreat with my private preceptor for a whole month. And that was just so special. It was just so precious, living together, practicing together for all of that time. That just felt so unique, and I really witnessed your devotion more fully. Just a real calm confidence to be able to hold that space and to welcome me into your home and make that happen. And it was so beautiful. So thank you. So it was quite unique in that we had that intimacy, that one-to-one experience of that kind of private retreat together, yet we were still fully connected with other people. So we'd come together on Zoom every day for different things, talks, practice, things like that, ritual. And there was a really strong bond and there was a really strong connection. And just like we were having this kind of private retreat together, so were all the other preceptors and preceptees dotted around the country. So in the little Zoom boxes, you'd see these couples, just these beautiful friendships, beaming smiles, just so much love and warmth between each other. It was just so wonderful to witness that. That was kind of one of the highlights, actually. And every evening after the evening ritual, we would just sit there in silence and just take each other in. Just these big smiles looking at everybody. And I think there was something about our determination to get ordained in these particular conditions that really bonded us really strongly, even though I've not met most of them in person. So I'll just say a couple of more things about that stood out for me on the retreat. So the night before the private ordination, we were doing a ritual online, and our internet connection was a bit dodgy, and instead of resisting that and being annoyed that something was going wrong, I really just didn't mind. I didn't care. I had this huge smile across my face. I just felt incredibly elated, and it was because I'd realised, the retreat was perfect. Let's get a tissue. And the retreat was perfect because it completely fulfilled its potential, because we were getting ordained the next day. Just give me a moment. So I think in that moment I let go of any last kind of shoulds or shouldn'ts about what the retreat was supposed to be, and it was absolutely beautiful and completely perfect. So then the next thing I want to tell you about is the next day. So it was the day of the private ordination, and there was something very particular about the waiting. So the waiting before the private ordination. So there was like 2 or 3 hours before where I was just waiting, and normally when I'm waiting for something big and significant, there's either kind of fear or resistance, or there's excitement and impatience because I can't wait for it to happen. But the quality of this waiting was very, very different, actually. It didn't have that fear and it didn't have that impatience. It just felt very calm, very simple, very clear, very clean. There was nothing that needed to be done, and that's quite rare for me because there's always something else that needs to be done. So there was, it's hard to express, but there was just something really particular about that waiting. I knew that I was on the cusp of a hugely significant, life-changing moment. Okay, so that brings me on to my name. So I was given my name by Jyotish Mati, my private preceptor at the private ordination. And my name is Amalanandi, which means she whose joy is in purity. And so Amala means pure or stainless, and Nandi means joy or delight. And I'm thinking of the name as both the goal and the path. So the goal, a pure heart and mind, free from all that holds us back from our true potential. But I'm also thinking about it as the joy that arises in the process of purification. So gradually bringing attention to what I need to transform, what I want to change, so I can be my best self, so I can reach my potential, working on those unhelpful habits. But of course that's not always a joyful process, and I doubt that my partner Matthew, who's sitting here, would say that I joyfully and graciously accept my faults and wrongdoings all the time. I could definitely be stubborn and stick my heels in, that's for sure. But even when it's uncomfortable, I always see it as positive, because if we don't shine a light on our shadows, then we don't know they're there, and then we can't transform them. So how did I feel about receiving the name? Well, I felt relief because I really loved the sound of it, and I also really loved the meaning of it. It did take a couple of days to kind of settle and sink in a bit, the meaning, because I did feel the weight of that and think, how to live up to this. It felt quite big. But then I did hear someone say that if your name doesn't feel too big for you, then it's not the right name. They're definitely names to grow into, that's for sure. Okay, so that brings me on to my gratitudes. So there's so many gratitudes, there's so many people that have, supported along the way and made this possible. So I'm not going to be able to name all of them. But the journey started a really long time ago, so I'd like to thank my parents, who I know are watching, because they gave me such loving foundations, and they've always encouraged me to reach my potential in whichever way I've chosen to do that. So I have a lot of love for them. Thank you if you're watching. I'd also like to thank my cousins Lauren and Ellie, who are in the building somewhere. I just really appreciate that they've come along to support me this evening and have come here. So looking forward to seeing them afterwards. And I want to thank my partner Matthew, who's just been so supportive over the last year. You've just been a voice of positivity when I've needed it in all the difficulties, and especially without hesitation you offered to support my parents while I was away as well, and I know that they've really appreciated that, and so have I, so thank you. So many friends, there's too many to name, who've supported me, and just along the whole journey from the day I arrived at the Buddhist Centre for the first time to here today. So, but especially my GFR group, who've really been part of that process. My Kula as well, and also my KMs, Darshavani, who's at the back there, and Shradasara, who I know is watching online. You've just shared your wisdom and guidance and love and support so much, especially over this last year, so thank you. And I've also been really grateful for new friendships. So the women who I was supposed to go to Akashavana with last year, from London, we've really formed a tight bond over this last year by kind of sitting in this waiting room, this bardo, and we've all ended up getting ordained in different ways at different places, so I just can't wait till they're all in the order as well, and I know 2 of them are at Suryanaga at the moment, so really looking forward to finding out what their names are and welcoming them back. And again, reiterating my immense gratitude to Subhadramati and the rest of the team. She's also my public preceptor, and I have my public ordination here, which was just beautiful, and thank you to everyone who made that possible as well. They just did a phenomenal job of holding the retreat, as I said before, and pioneering, doing something in just such a different way, and knowing that it was possible, actually, and it was truly beautiful and wonderful, so immense gratitude to them. And then to Jyotishmati and her family, so Chintamani and their son Gowan, for just welcoming me into their home so generously for a whole month. That's something, actually, to have somebody in your home for a whole month and make them welcome for such a significant event. And you just made it so beautiful. And especially Chintamani, who even went on solitary for 2 weeks so that we could just have that time together. I really appreciated that. Thank you. And then my last gratitudes is to Bhante Sangharashtra, the founder of this movement and order, who without his clear vision and presentation of the Dharma, there wouldn't be the London Buddhist Centre, there wouldn't be this network of friendships, and I may never have come across the Dharma, which has so profoundly changed my life. So lots of thanks to him. So I'll just end by saying that during my time away, I was reading stories about Buddhist women throughout the centuries whose journeys to ordination were often paved with a lot of difficulty, and they were a lot harder than mine, that's for sure. But as I was reading about their lives and their stories, I just felt such a connection with them. I was so inspired by their determination and commitment in the face of adversity to keep turning towards what they felt was most important, to keep taking their lives seriously. And when they finally took their seat in the monastery or the temple, after many years often, they did so with such joy, such delight and such gratitude. And I guess that's how I feel now, really. So I've taken my seat in this particular order, following the footsteps of so many practitioners, this lineage through time over the last 2,500 years since the Buddha's day. And yeah, I just have an abundance of joy, delight and gratitude. Thank you for listening.
Amalanandi. You've left us with a lot of joy, sharing your story and a teaching, some important teachings there as well. So that the ongoing letting go of all the plans, and then recognising that actually what was causing you suffering was resistance to change. And that really, it's like we just need to keep remembering that, don't we? Again and again and again, that it's the way we respond to our situations that often will cause the pain. And I think it takes us right to the heart of the Buddha's teaching, that all things change. And so how do we then embrace that truth, regardless of what the change is that is happening? So I really thought you really expressed that, and how you worked with that again and again in that process. And then I really loved the sort of the way you then embraced the whole thing, bit by bit, just embraced it. And I was very fortunate to see Amalanandi at the end of your public ordinations. You came out into the courtyard of the sun shining, and you were glowing, and it was real joy that was being expressed, real beauty that was being expressed. And in a way you shared that with us tonight. So I really appreciate you sort of taking us to the sort of heart really of what ordination, is about. It's wonderful that we have these 3 months or 4 months or 5 months retreats in great venues around the world, but actually the heart of the ordination is, really connecting with your person that it's ordaining you, and the teachings, and really willing to go into this new life, which is what used to happen in the Buddha's day. Buddha would say, "Come," and that was their ordination. So you really expressed that tonight. So well done, and thank you very much for sharing that with us. And our final speaker is Suryanaga. So welcome.
It's really handy that these come with a bag. Thanks everyone for coming, and thanks my fellow new order members for giving great talks about the magic of ordination and how brilliant our community is, because it means I can just talk about myself for 15 minutes. Try not to do that. Thanks for coming. Especially I've got a few kind of non-Buddhist friends. I've put them in the other room so they can't heckle me. I've got a few non-Buddhist friends here, and I just think that's kind of really important. It's really important to me that you are here. Hi. Because although, our kind of old selves have died, that's not a kind of rejection of the people in my life, and the people that have been in my life. So, that's really important. I've been really blessed with loyal, intelligent, funny friends throughout lots of my life. So yeah, I'm really grateful for that. This is going to sound more and more like an Oscar acceptance speech, but you're just going to have to go with that. So the next person I'm going to thank is my mum. So my mum's here. This is... my mum was 23 when I was born and raised me as a single mum with not very much money, and it's just kind of given up so much for me and my brother Zach, and I don't think I've always been able to appreciate that, but certainly coming to Buddhism, coming to the Dharma has kind of, I think that's one of the big things it's given me actually, is more of a sense of an appreciation of what I've been given, and I've definitely felt very overwhelmed, particularly on retreat, at how much gratitude I feel, particularly for my mum. I just want to start with that. It's been a hard year, hasn't it, for everyone? That's a bit of a truism. But it has been a hard year, and I think for those of us, I'm conscious of going on about it, but it's it was really difficult to be working towards this thing for years. Maitrekara Bandhi said, you're born, you get ordained, and then you die. That's how big it is. So I really, really working toward. I had this idea, I'm going to turn 30 in 2020, and then I'm going to get ordained within days of my birthday. It's going to be great. Of course, that didn't happen. I felt like I was running up to make this big leap. This big run up, and then just as I was about to jump, somebody just shouted, "Stop!" What? And I've really had to work out what to do with that. I've really had to work out, what to do with that energy. Apart from just kind of pressing go live on YouTube live streams, which I spent a lot of the last year doing, as all of us. But one of the things I kind of realised I needed to do actually before I could get ordained was resolve more of my life. I felt like there were things in my life. It actually, just after the pandemic hit, I even had these thoughts of the universe is not letting me get ordained until I sort some more stuff out actually. One of the kind of biggest things of that was meeting my estranged father. Anyway, I sort of sent a letter, and I won't say too much about that, but I just want to express gratitude for my kind of new brother and sister, half brother and sister, that Govinda and Sharanjit, who I think are watching the YouTube video tonight, so that's quite nice. So it's been a hard year, and I think probably what we've all felt over the last year is that we've needed lots of support over the last year, and it's been really heartening, hasn't it, seeing how kind of communities have really come together over the last year, and that's definitely kind of reflecting on the last year, the main thing I can kind of think of. Just the sort of pillars of support that I've had in my life. So one of the really big important pillars of support in my life has been Emma, my girlfriend, my partner. Just a sort of such a natural Buddhist. She wasn't when we met, but I kind of get points for converting people. But so selflessly kind and free of blame, actually, completely, remarkably free of blame. Quite an inspiration, actually. So then the next, kind of group of people I just want to mention, very, very important in my life. My whole kind of spiritual life has really centered around the Samagavasa community upstairs, where I've lived for the last 4 years. And so we're a group of 10 men who live upstairs, one of the 2 men's communities that live upstairs. And I want to mention all of them by name, because every single one of these men are absolutely devoted Dharma practitioner, complete daily inspiration to me, and just full of qualities. I could easily talk, well into the night about just the qualities of each one of these men. So Matt Grenz, David Breen, Hippolyte, Seb, Amalanandi, Dayanatha, Jnanavacha, Maitrekara Bandhu and Parama Bandhu. Absolutely kind of inspiring men. We're talking about names today, aren't we? We're talking about names. And Suryagupta means brothers living in harmony, and it really does feel like that, living in Suryagupta. Not just the absence of disharmony, but actually kind of like multiple notes being played at the same time that somehow kind of sound much bigger than their parts and create something kind of beautiful. And the sound of that is usually laughter, usually because somebody's getting teased, but yeah, usually laughter, but also kind of this kind of profound, really kind of serious depth and atmosphere of support. So there's a couple of guys in that 10 that I'm going to talk a bit more about, and that's because they're my public and private preceptors. So Parama Bandhu is my public preceptor, also has co-led study group with Amalanandi for the last 4 years. I remember this time. As well as leading the course that we've just been on. And Parama Bandhu is just such a font of wisdom and equanimity and just kind of always asking the right questions. So I can just kind of ramble on like now. And Parama Bandhu will kind of just like slightly go, and what about that? And it's like, oh, right, okay. And then, Maitrekara Bandhu, I don't really know what I can say about Maitrekara Bandhu in a way, because Maitrekara Bandhu is very easily been one of the most important people in my life ever. Every kind of big difficulty that I've had in the last few years, I feel like I've kind of been steered through that kind of by Maitrekara Bandhu's love and support. I first kind of saw Maitrekara Bandhu just being a very, very impressive public figure in the London Buddhist Centre. First it's just like, oh, he makes good jokes when he's teaching, but then it's like, oh, there's like something really like profound here. But then he's just become, one of the kind of best friends I've ever had. And a lot of that has been around this kind of, not just kind of steering through difficulties, but this kind of shared vision of growth, both growth of the individual, but growth of the kind of the world and society, and how Buddhism can make that happen. And I think all of that, I think Maitrekara Bandhu would kind of like me saying in a way, and I think this is true, that so much of that is coming out of his faithfulness to Bhante Sangharakshita. And I really feel like, I really feel very, very grateful to Sangharakshita. I really feel like I know Sangharakshita though through Maitrekara Bandhu. And funnily enough as well, I feel like I know the Buddha to the extent that I know the Buddha through Sangharakshita. Aryavasin was talking about lineage before, and I can really, really feel that as well. Yes. So there are 2 ordinations. So I've just been talking about my public ordination and my public preceptor and my private preceptor, and I found that really kind of important actually, because I kind of realised that I never kind of realised this before I was ordained, but the fact that there are 2 ordinations are a real sort of koan, so a kind of paradox, because you have this really profound. I need to stop saying the word profound, I think, because the more you say that, the less profound it sounds. This really kind of deep, meaningful experience, this private experience of, kind of this bond with your private preceptor, this name, this Buddha figure that we all get given to visualize every day. And then we have to work out what that means in the context of other people. And it just doesn't make any sense to try and do that, to try and kind of talk about any of that stuff, really. But that is the ordination that we have, and it is, very significant, I think, that we have that kind of ordination that needs both of those aspects. So talking about my name as well, because my name is also a koan. So Suryanaga. So Surya means sun. When Maitrekara kind of gave me the name, he was saying that that's because I have a sunny personality. I hope I have a sunny personality. But also because of this idea of growth. So because the sun, of course, helps things grow, and so Maitrekara was talking about ability to help people grow, and my desire to help people when situations grow. And I think, as well as so much of my connection with Maitrekara, I think, is around growth. I think that is also a connection with Bhante as well. I don't know how many of you have seen this, but there's a video on YouTube of somebody asking Bhante Sangharajita, what's the meaning of life? You know, this classic. And he has this great answer. He just says, to grow. Which I just think is great. Like, that's it, isn't it? That's all you can say about life. And then the Naga bit. So Naga, a Naga in Buddhism is a kind of a serpent-like dragon that lives at the bottom of the ocean, guarding what's of most value. So a kind of dragon of the sun, and so a Naga is a kind of protector of depth and value, which is things that are really, really important to me. But also dragons. There's a lot of stories about dragons being very hard to train, isn't there? So I don't know if Maitrekara thought I was hard to train. But lots of my teachers have done. But I've certainly realised how hard to train I am just trying to meditate. I'll be sitting there and I'm like, right, so I'm going to feel love to everyone now, and then there's just this kind of like voice from the depth, like, no, you won't. And so I started to realise there's a bit of a kind of Naga in me that when it's utilised well, when it's integrated into this kind of more Surya side, can be a real kind of powerful force, protecting something of value. But when it's not, when it's ignored, or when it's kind of, when I try and bat it away, it becomes this thing, this kind of adversary. So when another thing that Maitrekara said to me when said about my name was, well, he was really struck that we'd chosen together for me to be taking up the Green Tara practice. So he was saying he's really struck. So there's this kind of the sun and the depths of the Naga, and in the middle of that is Green Tara. So it's almost like there is a sort of resolution of this kind of paradox. Green Tara kind of, if you don't know Green Tara, she's green and she's called Tara, and she's kind of like very related to the kind of earth goddess. But very importantly, she's in herself a kind of koan paradox, because she's stepping out into the world to help the world, but also kind of in meditation posture at the same time. So that's been very, very important for me to try and work out, well, what does that mean then? Can that actually be possible to do those both things at the same time? Like, last week since coming back from Spain, I've just sort of thought, oh, there's a lot of people and stuff here, isn't there? I'd rather just be back in the mountains where I just need to close my eyes 4 times a day, and it's great. But I guess the thing that I've started to realise, and I think I'll probably be realising this or trying to realise this for the rest of my life, the thing that I've started to realise is that Tara does sort of resolve that tension, that paradox, because Tara is, she is kind of beauty herself, she is kind of love, and sometimes we get nervous, don't we, talking about these figures in the Buddhist centre, because people are like, well, Buddhists don't believe in God, do they? And no, Buddhists don't believe in God. So it's kind of hard to say, well, do these figures exist or not? But yeah, Tara does exist. Definitely Green Tara exists. Exists a lot more than I do. I think that's because beauty exists. Yeah, I think Green Tara exists because beauty exists. I'll leave it there.
Thank you very much, Suryanaga, for very rich exploration of your journey. And you started with the dealing with the changes and all of that. And I was really touched. You didn't talk about it very much, but the touch that you really made use of the time to heal relationships, and that could have only been beneficial going forward. So I was really touched hearing that. And I think you then really rejoiced, didn't you? You really rejoiced in all your friendships and your community. Really, I got a real sense, it really demonstrated actually how much Buddhism is such a living tradition. Like, we need other people to share their inspiration, and we're then ignited by other people's inspiration. And the way you talked about how Maitrekara had helped you connect with Bhante had helped you connect with the Buddha. That's in a way how Sangha survives and thrives. And I thought that was really beautiful, the way you shared that. And your name's fascinating and beautiful, of course. We've got 2 Suryas now at the London Buddhist Centre. And can't have more. It's great to have lots of Suryas here. But you've got the depth. You've got the sort of the dragon, the naga, coming from the depth as well, and integrating the heights and the depths is a lifelong journey. And it sounds like you've got a real faith in all your guides, and Tara being a fabulous guide for you, beauty being your guide for that, and love. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So very full, isn't it? And very rich and very beautiful, and it's very heart-opening hearing all of your stories, all of your journeys. So thank you all for sharing that with us tonight. And Suryanaga is going to end the evening formally with a ritual where we can just take in what we've been hearing and take that in. But before doing so, we have something to offer you all as a sort of testament of our appreciation and gratitude to you for the steps that you've taken. So here, on all of our behalves, are 4 bouquets.
Suryagupta. So we're going to do a 3-fold puja together. I'm just going to say a couple of things before we start, because I'm aware that there's a lot of people here who aren't Buddhists, and particularly in the other rooms maybe, and won't have done a puja before. So I've never led a puja before, so we're in the same boat. But yeah, and I don't think actually, I don't know if this is like a bit of a first of doing a puja across 3 rooms as well, so it's going to be a bit mad. But yeah, if it is your first time doing a puja, or you're not used to them, I'd really encourage you to just kind of just see it as a bit of a weird art form, because all art comes out of ritual. That's what really helped me kind of start engaging with pujas, is just to start realizing that all art comes out of ritual. So if you can appreciate theatre or the cinema or video games or whatever, then some of the root of that is in puja. But this is a participative art form. So what's going to happen is I'm going to say a thing, and then you're going to say that thing back to me. So there'll be three main sort of sections. I'll just say what's gonna happen. So before the first section, Amalanandi is going to read a poem by Sangharakshita called Sri Pada. So we'll hear that poem, and then I'll lead the first section, and then we'll have the refuges and precepts, the five precepts. And I'll lead that in call and response, and then we'll have another first. Actually, I'm really excited about this. This is the very, very first time that in the world anyone is going to hear the positive Buddhist precepts said in Albanian. So that's really, really exciting. So Aryavasin's going to say the positive precepts in Albanian. Maybe you could come a bit closer to the microphone so people can hear that. Then we'll have the second section. Then the reading from we'll have a reading from the Metta Sutta by Maitrekara. The third section, and then after the third section, we'll have the Shakyamuni mantra led again by Aryavasin. And during this mantra, so we're all going to be sort of chanting this mantra throughout the building, and during that mantra we can make offerings. So we can go up to the shrine. We've all got shrines in front of us, I think, and wherever we are in the building, or if you're at home, then you can just pretend your laptop's a shrine, and we just kind of make an offering of light or incense, and I won't say much about what that means, but you can kind of imagine for yourself what that might mean based on what we've been talking about. So when the mantra ends, the mantra will fade away and we'll be in silence, and then I'll ring the bell and Suryagupta will say a few things at the end. Yeah. Okay, great. I think we all know what's going to happen now. Well, nobody knows what's going to happen ever, but know a little bit about what might happen. So just after the second section, I'll look at you.
I saw his shining footprints, gleaming in the grass like dew. The flowers where they had fallen, sweeter and fairer grew. They led into the distant hills, those hills all misty blue. I will follow, neath the spring moon full and bright, through field and copse and hollow, those footprints of delight, and walk upon those distant hills, one dawn all golden white. 'Tis many an age of darkness since the days my Lord did pass, leaving his dewy footprints like pearls upon the grass, and rank weeds have o'ergrown them, and thorns obscured, alas. Yet will I follow boldly, using the hunter's art, until one day I find him, from all things else apart, sitting beside the pool of peace in the blue hills of my heart.
the threefold puja. Opening reverence. We reverence the Buddha.
We reverence the Buddha,
The perfectly enlightened one.
the perfectly enlightened one,
The shower of the way.
the shower of the way.
We reverence the Dharma.
We reverence the Dharma,
The teaching of the Buddha,
the teaching of the Buddha,
which leads from darkness to light.
which leads from darkness to light.
We reverence the Sangha,
We reverence the Sangha,
the fellowship of the Buddha's disciples,
the fellowship of the Buddha's disciples,
that inspires and guides.
that inspires and guides.
Refuges and precepts. Namo tassa.
Namo tassa.
Bhagavato arahato.
Bhagavato arahato.
Samma sambuddhassa.
Samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa.
Namo tassa.
Bhagavato arahato.
Bhagavato arahato.
Samma sambuddhassa.
Samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa.
Namo tassa.
Bhagavato arahato.
Bhagavato arahato.
Samma sambuddhassa.
Samma sambuddhassa.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Panatipata.
Panatipata.
Veramani.
Veramani.
Sikkhapadam.
Sikkhapadam.
Sammadhyami.
Sammadhyami.
Adinadana.
Adinadana.
Veramani.
Veramani.
Sikkhapadam.
Sikkhapadam.
Sammadhyami.
Sammadhyami.
Kamesu.
Kamesu.
Michachara.
Michachara.
Veramani.
Veramani.
Sikkhapadam.
Sikkhapadam.
Sammadhyami.
Sammadhyami.
Musavada.
Musavada.
Veramani.
Veramani.
Sikkhapadam.
Sikkhapadam.
Sammadhyami.
Sammadhyami.
Suramerya.
Suramerya.
Maja.
Maja.
Hammadatana.
Hammadatana.
Veramani.
Veramani.
Sikkhapadam Sammadiyami Sadhu 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 With deeds of loving kindness, I purify my body. With open-handed generosity, I purify my body. With stillness, simplicity, and contentment, I purify my body. With truthful communication, I purify my speech. With mindfulness clear and radiant, I purify my mind.
Me vepra dashamirësie, pastroj trupin tim. Me zemër gjerësi, duar hapur, pastroj trupin tim. Me qetësi, thjeshtësi dhe kënaqësi, pastroj trupin tim. Me komunikim të vërtet, pastroj fjalimin tim. Me vëmendshmëri të qartë dhe rezatuese, pastroj mendjen time.
Reverence to the Three Jewels. We reverence the Buddha. And aspire to follow him. The Buddha was born. As we are born. What the Buddha overcame. We too can overcome. What the Buddha attained. We too can attain. We reverence the Dharma. And aspire to follow it. With body, speech and mind. Until the end. The truth in all its aspects. The path in all its stages. We aspire to study. Practice. Realize. We reverence the Sangha. And aspire to follow it. The fellowship of those who tread the way. As one by one. We make our own commitments. An ever-widening circle. The Sangha grows.
If you know your own good and know where peace dwells, then this is the task. Lead a simple and a frugal life, uncorrupted, capable and just. Be mild, speak soft, eradicate conceit, keep appetites and senses calm. Be discreet and unassuming. Do not seek rewards. Do not have to be ashamed in the presence of the wise. May everything that lives be well, weak or strong, here or elsewhere, present or to come, in heights and depths, may all be well. Have that mind for all the world. Get rid of lies and pride. A mother's mind for her baby, not love, but now unbounded. Secure this mind of love. No enemies, no obstructions, wherever or however you may be. It is sublime, this. It escapes birth and death, losing lust and illusion, and living in the truth.
Offerings to the Buddha. Reverencing the Buddha.
Reverencing the Buddha.
We offer flowers.
We offer flowers.
Flowers that today.
Flowers that today.
Are fresh and sweetly blooming.
Are fresh and sweetly blooming.
Flowers that tomorrow.
Flowers that tomorrow.
Are faded and fallen.
Are faded and fallen.
Our bodies too.
Our bodies too.
Like flowers.
Like flowers.
Will pass away.
Will pass away.
Reverencing the Buddha.
Reverencing the Buddha.
We offer candles.
We offer candles.
To him who is the light.
To him who is the light.
We offer light.
We offer light.
From his greater lamp.
From his greater lamp.
A lesser lamp we light within us.
And a lesser lamp we light within us.
The lamp of Bodhi.
The lamp of Bodhi.
Shining within our hearts.
Shining within our hearts.
Reverencing the Buddha.
Reverencing the Buddha.
We offer incense.
We offer incense.
Incense whose fragrance.
Incense whose fragrance.
Pervades the air.
Pervades the air.
The fragrance of the perfect life.
The fragrance of the perfect life.
Sweeter than incense.
Sweeter than incense.
Spreads in all directions.
Spreads in all directions.
Throughout the world.
Throughout the world.
Muni, Muni, Mahamuni, Shakyamuni, Sadhu. 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 Muni, Muni, Mahamuni,
Shakyamuni Sadhu Muni Muni Mahamuni 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 Shakyamuni Sadhu Muni
Thank you very much, Suryanaga. Beautifully read. And I just want to end our evening this evening by thanking our four ordinands again, Maitrekara, Aryavasin, Amalanandi and Suryanaga, for sharing your journeys with us and giving us inspiration to grow, to keep growing and keep developing for our benefit and for the benefit of the world. Thank you very much. Deep bow and many blessings to you. And thank you all for coming in all our different rooms at the Buddhist Centre. Thank you for tuning in online. And wishing you all very well as well. Okay, thank you. And tea and cake now.